Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're creating the ultimate roadmap for anyone who's thinking about starting their German language journey. If you don't know where to begin, you are in exactly the right place. So, have you ever thought about learning German, but then you kind of get hit with this feeling of, wow, where do I even start? If you've ever felt a bit overwhelmed by it all, this one's for you. We're going to break down that very first level, A1, into clear, simple steps. And by the end of this, you'll see it's way more achievable than you probably think. Okay, let's dive right in. Every great journey starts with packing your bags, right? And for A1 German, that means loading up on the most essential vocabulary. Look, you're not going to be debating philosophy in your first week. The whole point of A1 is to give you the tools you need to handle basic real-life situations from day one. We're talking about the absolute building blocks of conversation. Things like introducing yourself, asking someone how they are, and, handling everyday stuff, like ordering a coffee or asking how much something costs in a shop. Now, take a look at this. The interesting part here isn't the word name. It's that little three-letter word right in front of it, der. Now, that means the. But believe it or not, it's not the only word for the in German. And that simple question, well, it leads us straight into the first big puzzle that every single German learner has to solve. It's a key part of the language. So let's talk about them. The famous German articles, der, die, and das. Now, if you're coming from English, this can seem a little weird because all three of them just mean the. Yeah, unlike English where it's just the for everything, in German, every single noun has a gender. It's either masculine, feminine, or neuter. And the article you pick, der, die, or das, has to match the noun's gender. But here's the good news. It's not completely random. You don't have to just guess every single time. As this chart shows, there are patterns. The ending of a noun can often give you a huge clue about which article to use. Which brings me to probably the single best piece of advice anyone can give you for learning German. Make it a rule. From now on, you're not just learning the word Tisch for table, you're learning der Tisch. It feels like a tiny bit of extra work at first, but trust me, this one habit will save you a world of pain later on. Okay, so you've got some words, you're starting to understand the basic grammar. Now what? How do you make it all actually sink in and feel natural? Well, the answer is immersion. And immersion doesn't mean you have to pack up and move to Berlin tomorrow. You can create your own little German bubble right where you are. Switch your phone's language, find a German show on a streaming service, listen to German music on your commute. Every little bit helps train your ear and makes it feel more familiar. All this practice and learning, it can all point towards a really concrete, tangible goal, the official Goethe-Zertifikat A1 exam. Think of it as your first major destination on this journey. And this isn't just a piece of paper for your wall. It's a certificate that's recognized all over the world by employers, universities, and embassies. For many people, it's the actual key that opens doors for visas, jobs, or studying in Germany. So, what does this test actually look like? Well, it's designed to be really well-rounded. It's broken down into 4 equal parts, and each one tests a core communication skill: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And here's a closer look. You can see each section has a specific time limit and a really clear structure. They'll ask you to do practical things like listen to a short announcement at a train station, read a simple email, or fill out a form. It's all about what you can actually do with the language. Now, a lot of people get pretty nervous about one of these sections in particular, but there's a little secret that can actually make it one of the most manageable parts of the whole test. That's right, the speaking part. Why? Because the very first task is just to introduce yourself. So you can prepare and practice your little story, your name, where you're from, what you do, long before you ever step foot in the exam room. No surprises there. So what's the magic number you need to hit? You don't need to be perfect. To pass the entire exam, you just need to score 60 points out of a possible 100. And listen, this is probably one of the most important things to remember. You do not have to pass each of the 4 sections individually. So if listening was tough for you, but you did great on the speaking and reading parts, those strong sections can pull your total score right over that 60-point finish line. So how long does it take to get there? Well, the general recommendation is somewhere between 80 and 120 hours of focused study. And when you break that down with some consistent effort, that's a really realistic goal for most people. So there you have it. That's the roadmap. You start with the core words, you make friends with their die and das, you surround yourself with the language every day, and you aim for that first official certificate. The path is all laid out for you. The only question left is, when are you going to take that first step?